That's why I'm trying to make a better way. Whole new crib in a better place. Get my people out the hood, we'll see better days. Tell a fan sorry, y'all let them wait. Shit up there like a Saturday. Listen to me how I beat this beat up like a battle.
Yo, what up, guys? This is your boy Kofi with Kill Sports Talk, back at with another video. And in today's video, I'm going to be giving you 3 reasons why the Chicago Bears against the Washington Commanders is a must-win game going into Sunday. But before we start this video, guys, make sure to like and subscribe, and make sure to hit that notification bell so you can get the latest and greatest in regards to news updates and just sports in general, and even Chicago sports in general. And so I might even do some LA, and I'm not gonna lie, but the Dodgers, going to the World Series too. Yesterday, they went to the World Series, and around my area, people were going wild. So, but that's neither here nor there. But guys, I just want to talk about this bye week that the Chicago Bears were coming out of. This bye week just ended. Week 7 is Week 7 is wrapping up today, with the Baltimore Ravens and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I just wanted to talk specifically about some of the games yesterday, specifically with the Detroit Lions. And what up, Joel? How you doing, bro? Bear down, bro. Bear down. I just want to talk specifically about that game against Detroit versus the Minnesota Vikings. And then also talk about how the Houston Texans stunk up that joint against the Green Bay Packers. I mean, CJ Stroud was so bad. I watched the game. And at one point they were leading 19-14, but it just came down to the wire, and Green Bay ended up winning. But I just want to talk specifically about that Detroit Lions game and Minnesota. The start of the game, Minnesota was coming in hot. They went up 10-0 instantly, and Detroit quickly responded. They quickly responded in the second quarter. They scored a touchdown too. It was 10-7. And it just seemed that, Detroit, they started making adjustments. They started seeing that Brian Flores was starting to blitz them, starting to get to Jared Goff. And Jared Goff, this guy, he's the best quarterback in this division, hands down. Jared Goff is having, an MVP season right now. The last 3 weeks, we can go to the Seahawks game. He's the first quarterback in NFL history to have a perfect game. That's crazy. I didn't even know that. First quarterback to have go 18 for 18. Perfect game. The next game, who do they face? The next game after that, Detroit Lions. They faced the Cowboys. He threw for 315 yards, 3 touchdowns, and then you go to this game against the Vikings. He was 22 for 25, damn near perfect, 280 yards, 2 touchdowns. Here's a key stat right here. The Minnesota Vikings blitzed Jared Goff 55.2% that game. And Jared Goff was, listen to this, 13 for 15 for 2 touchdowns with an 122 passer rating. Jared Goff is playing otherworldly. I don't know what it is, but the Detroit Lions, they're one of those teams that really scares me, Now I get it with the Packers. The Packers, we have this mental hurdle, with the Packers. But I think overall as a team, I think the Chicago Bears are more of a better football team. But I think mentally, Green Bay, of course, they have their number on us. But I think this defense can have their way with Jordan Love. Jordan Love, he's a turnover machine. But specifically, I want to talk about the Detroit Lions. Jared Goff, he is playing at an MVP level right now. And we could look at his numbers right now. Jared Goff, so far, he has 10 touchdowns. He's thrown for 10 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. He has a pass rating of 115.5. He's thrown for over 1,600 yards. I mean, this guy, it's looking like he's going to have another Pro Bowl season if he keeps up with this level of play. Now, I get it. People are talking about, oh, we should have swept the Lions. But I think the Lions, they really won those 2 games. Like, we should have won. We should have swept them last year or whatever. But I mean, this season, Jared Goff, he's looking really good. He's bad, and regression in December is expected. He's bad in the cold. Yeah, I mean, we're gonna have to see. But I'm just saying, if he keeps up this level of play, I mean, they can win the division. They can win the division again. I wouldn't even be surprised if the Lions definitely goes to the Super Bowl, because they're such a strong damn team. I mean, they were literally slicing and dicing up that Minnesota's defense, like slicing and dicing them up. Like, he was making them look like child's play. And we definitely know from the past, Jared Goff is not very good from a blitz. This guy, he had answers for the blitz. Him and Ben Johnson, they've had answers for the blitz. And there's this one particular play where I was watching this game. Minnesota ran a 7-man front. They ran a full 7-man front all-out blitz. And when the play started developing, Jared Goff instantly saw that they're coming with an all-out blitz, and that left Amon-Ra St. Brown open for a touchdown. I mean, that's just football 101. But that's neither here nor there. I want to talk about the Chicago Bears and the state of the NFC North. Of course, Minnesota lost, so that means Detroit is number 1 in the NFC North. This NFC North is definitely going to be a bloodbath, and is literally going to come towards the end of the season to see who's really going to have their foothold on the NFC North. But I want to talk about this Bears game. 3 reasons. I want to give my 3 reasons why this game against the Commanders is so important. And one reason why, of course, the NFC North, the NFC division, the whole NFC division, not just the NFC North, but you're going up against a NFC divisional opponent in the Washington Commanders. And think about this. If you win this game against the Washington Commanders, you have a chance to go 5-2. You have that tiebreaker with the Washington Commanders. And if you end up losing to the Washington Commanders, because we already know the NFC North is going to be competitive. I don't think nobody in this team is going to finish below 9-8. Like, if everybody's playing the way they're playing, I think the worst team is going to be at least 10-7. That's how good this division is. Now, let's just say hypothetically, right? The Bears go 10-7, right? And the Washington Commanders, they lose a couple games because, of course, they got to go through Philadelphia. Philadelphia completely manhandled the New York Giants, even though they have a good defensive line front. It's just their offense sucks so bad. Let's say they lose a couple of games to Washington, to the Philadelphia Eagles, right? Let's say if they lose a couple games, to the Dallas Cowboys. Of course, they got the Titans. The Titans is going to be an easy game for them. But let's just say hypothetically, Washington Commanders go 10-7. We automatically got the tiebreaker. For for that last wild card spot. You automatically got the tiebreaker for the last wild card spot, because let's just say we go 7-2 going into Green Bay. We could split You know, that gives you 10 wins right there. That gives you 10 wins right there. 10 wins right there. Once you have that head-to-head matchup, now let's say they both finish, like I said, they both finish 10-7, going towards the end of the season. You know, Green Bay is up on you, Minnesota's up on you, and Detroit's up on you. The only thing about it is that you have a leg up on the Washington Commanders, and each game specifically in this NFC divisional, this NFC divisional, this is very important because this can allow you, other than your division, well, your NFC North division, the NFC division games also matter in the conference. Your NFC conference games, they have some type of importance to it because that also can make sure you have a tiebreaker. That also can make sure that you're going to go into the playoffs or not. So that's one reason. The second reason, I mean, is quite obvious. I mean, the NFC North. I mean, what do I got to say? The NFC North is so competitive. You got Detroit playing well. Detroit's playing well. They might they're looking like the favorites to win the NFC North. Number two, you got Green Bay doing well. Green Bay's playing well, and you got to keep up. You got to keep up with those teams. You know, Minnesota, even though they lost, you know, they are 5-1, and then they almost they could have beaten the Detroit Lions that game. They're keeping up with it. They almost kept up with the Detroit Lions, even when they went down to 28-17 toward the end of the game. They were able to score it all the way towards the last minute, all the way up until when Detroit Lions hit that game-winning field goal. They were able to keep up with that high-powered Detroit Lions offense. They were able to keep up with them. Like I said, I don't see this team finishing less than 10, this division finishing less than 10 wins. And you got to keep up with, you're going to have to keep up with those three other teams if you want to go far, if you want to make it to the playoffs. You know, Tampa Bay, they are not in our division. You know, they're not in our schedule. We can only control with what we control. Tampa Bay is not in our division. We don't play them in our schedule. We don't got to worry about them. They're 5. They're potentially going to be 5-2, 4-2, whatever. We got the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons, they're 4-2. You know, or I think they're 5-2. Let me see. The Atlanta win. Let me see. I didn't even pay attention to that. No, they're 4-3. I'm sorry. They're 4-3. They lost. I forgot they lost to they lost to the Seahawks. Seahawks blew them out. But yeah, you got the Seahawks. The Seahawks too. The Seahawks are doing well. The 49ers, I don't know what's going on with that team, but they're still competitive. They're the defending NFC Conference champions, and the 49ers. So you got some competitive teams. You got some competitive teams with the 49ers, the Seahawks, the Atlanta Falcons, of course, the Washington Commanders, all those teams. We're going to have to keep, and specifically with our division, we're going to have to keep up with this division because there's a likely chance that 4 teams in the history of the NFL can go to the playoffs. And so we got to keep up with the freaking NFC North because this is so competitive. They're combined 19-6. That is unheard of through the first, 7 weeks? The first 7 weeks. What's your prediction for the last 8 games, all NFC North? Hold on. I'm going to do that one later. Reason number 3 why I think this is important. You could change the narrative. You could change the whole narrative because everybody, and likely so, some people think that Jayden Daniels, I think the Bears, number 3, like I said, number 3, of course, changed the narrative. But like I said, some people think that the Chicago Bears made a terrible decision in picking Caleb Williams. That Caleb Williams was not the right quarterback. Oh, Caleb Williams, he didn't face no good opponents. Jaden Daniels, and granted, I give Jaden Daniels his flowers. You know, he's been playing very well, especially against that Baltimore team. You know, he was very efficient. But this type of game is going to give Caleb Williams a chance to change the narrative around the NFL and to show why he's the best pick in that 2024 NFL draft. A lot of people, some people are just writing off Caleb Williams. Some people say the Washington Commanders are already a better football team than the Chicago Bears just because they got a better quarterback. I think with Caleb Williams going into Landover, Maryland, and going to town in Washington, D.C., and facing this Washington Commanders, I think that Caleb Williams can definitely change the narrative around the league and show why he's the best quarterback. He's the best quarterback in this draft. You know, he could definitely change that narrative, and he could definitely have the Chicago Bears definitely in that playoff conversation, especially with his team getting into a rhythm. You already know this defense. This defense is going to be one of the hardest defenses that Jaden Daniels is going to face in his young career. This Bears defense is going to hit him hard. This Bears defense is going to test his weapons, specifically Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin, when he goes in his 3 matchups against Jalen Johnson, he's only had 8 receptions for 50 yards against Jalen Johnson in 3 games. I think that's definitely going to be a big matchup, bro. But most importantly, this is going to change the whole narrative around Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams. And I think Caleb Williams, he definitely needs to step up this game and show people why he is the better quarterback. Show the league why he was the right pick for the Chicago Bears. That showing them why he was the right number 1 pick for the draft. And I think that's definitely going to be important. That's definitely going to be important when it comes to that. Let me check out this comment section real quick. Joel, Lions pass rush is still sus. I hope they don't get Crosby. Yeah, I hope they don't get Crosby as well, man. I definitely hope that they don't get Crosby, man, because that would be a bummer, man. I mean, even when they didn't have Aiden Hutchinson, I mean, that game with the Lions showed me how much resilient that team is. And that's what good teams are. They're very resilient. They find ways to win. You know, and that comes with great coaching. Dan Campbell has done a great job with this Detroit Lions team, making sure that they stay together. You know, everybody was rallying around each other, especially when Aiden Hutchinson went down. But in those key critical moments against the Minnesota Vikings defense, that defense made some critical sacks against Sam Darnold down the stretch, and that's what led them to go down the field and win. And you're going to have games like that, and that's what the Bears need to do. You're going to have games where you're going to go up against these good teams like the Minnesota Vikings, like the Detroit Lions. You're going to have those key critical plays. You're going to have to learn how to weather the storm. Matt Eberflus is going to have to, throughout the season, especially when he goes up against these good teams, and especially on the road. I also didn't even cover this. This is also going to change the narrative, like I was with what I said for reason number 3. It also is going to change Matt Eberflus's narrative. This whole narrative on Matt Eberflus saying that he can't win on the road because he's 3-16 on the road. This is definitely going to change the narrative that, okay, Matt Eberflus did make some key adjustments, that he did improve from last year, because last year he was not good, especially when it came to winning on the road. And so I think this is also going to be a good game for Matt Eberflus. But I digress. Going into, like I said, about that Detroit Lions game against the Minnesota, this definitely showed a lot of resilience from this team, even when Aiden Hutchinson went down, because they made some critical key stops to Minnesota. And I think Dan Campbell, he's done a great job with that team. But it would definitely be scary if they got Crosby. Okay, what's your predictions for the last 8 games? All NFC North and San Francisco and Seattle. I'm going to do that tomorrow. The last 8 games, I got to see. I mean, I have them splitting. I mostly have them splitting. I probably have to do like an in-depth analysis on that, but I don't want to go too deep into it because there's some other topics I also want to talk about in this video. But I don't want to go too deep into that, Joel. I don't want to go too deep into that right now. This is the time of the year we have to beat Green Bay. Yes, this is the damn near the time of the year we have to beat Green Bay. We have to beat Green Bay, man, because we got to get over that mental hurdle. And I think one of the reasons why I have Green Bay slightly over the Chicago Bears is because of that mental hurdle. And I was watching the the Windy City Breeze with Pat the Designer, and one thing he always talked about was that mental hurdle that a lot of teams go through. You know, he was talking about the Chicago White Sox. Even during the time the Chicago White Sox were good, they couldn't beat the Minnesota Twins when they were at their worst. You know. And it's kind of the same thing with the Chicago Bears. Even certain times when the Chicago Bears get good, there are times where Green Bay would beat us, you know. And the last 5 years, Green Bay is 10-0. I know that's really hard to hear. That's really hard for me to say. No, last 6 years. I'm sorry. No, 5.5 years because we beat them in December in 2018. So 5.5 years. But Green Bay is 10-0 against us, man. The last 5 years, Green Bay is 10-0. They beat us 10-0, and we got to get over that mental hurdle. Matt Eberflus has to have his team prepared with going up against this Green Bay team, because every time Green Bay plays us, they always look like a well-prepared team. They don't look at the Chicago Bears like another game. I've seen a lot of these matchups where Green Bay. They didn't take their foot off the gas pedal when they were facing the Chicago Bears. They always kept their foot on our necks. And that's what we have to do, man. I played sports, man. And when I played college and high school sports, when we went up against our divisional rivals, I always try to hype up my team. Like when we had those divisional games, like we always dominated. We always dominated our divisional opponents because we didn't treat that game like it was just another game. We treated it like it was something so sacred to us, something that was very important to us. And I think that's what Matt Eberflus has to do. He can't treat this Green Bay game like another game. You have to understand the history. The last 5 years, during his whole coaching tenure, Matt Eberflus has not won a game against the Green Bay Packers. That's how long we haven't beaten the Green Bay Packers. This was during Nagy's tenure. The last time we beat the Packers was during Nagy's tenure. Matt Eberflus wasn't even here. And so we're going to have to change that narrative, man. We're definitely going to have to change that narrative. But on the other stuff, I want to also talk about the NBA season too as well. The NBA season definitely starts tomorrow. And I want to talk a little bit about the Chicago Bulls. I know Lonzo Ball did come back. I think the other day, his first game, I believe that he played, it was against the Timberwolves. He definitely came back. You know, he was kind of coming off the bench. And he had a decent game. Definitely had a decent game. Coming off the bench. Let me see. I'm taking. Okay, Lonzo Ball against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Of course, he had 10 points. But it looked like, when I was watching that game against, I watched some highlights with the Minnesota Timberwolves, and Lonzo Ball looked like he hasn't dropped a step since he hasn't played since 2022. Lonzo Ball is still that lockdown wing defender. He still can knock his threes down. He still looks like that same player he was a couple years back, and so that's really, really, really great to see from him. Matthias Bucelis, he looks like a solid young player. Kobe White looks like he's looking like where he left off from last season. That surge that he had last season, and even Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine is not is looking like he's kind of taking a backseat, understanding what his role is, allowing what's his name, Josh Giddey to kind of control the offense. Understanding what role he is. That he's not that guy who could just go up the key or whatever and just play ISO ball. Zach LaVine, he's trying to understand, okay, I got to understand my role. If I got to do spot up shooting, I'm going to do spot up shooting, whatever. Zach LaVine needs to understand what his role is. But I mean, I still think that this Chicago Bulls team is definitely still a rebuilding team, and they still definitely got some stuff that they need to work on. I mean, they still think they got to work on their perimeter, not perimeter defending. Their what's that? They still need to have an anchor, like a defensive anchor. They still need a center. They still need that center. I know Jalen Smith is hurt, but they definitely need that rim protector. That's what I was trying to say. They need a rim protector. My brain is fried, man. I'm coming from work, dude. But yeah, they definitely need a rim protector. They need what's his name left this past season, Andre Drummond. He was kind of their rim protector last year, but he already left. I mean, they're predicting Jalen Smith to kind of be their rim protector, but he's hurt right now. But I think that this team, they're more of like an up-tempo, fast-paced type of team. It seems like that's what they're trying to run, trying to be like a more fast-paced team. But I think with this team is still young. I think this team is kind of like in a rebuild phase, even though they say they're not in a rebuild phase. But I think the Chicago Bulls are going to be like a kind of like a rebuilding team. I don't have them winning winning more than 40 games. But I think with this team, they definitely have a lot of promise. I know Josh Giddey was talking about how he wants to get his rookie deal because I know Jalen Suggs, he just signed that massive 5-year rookie contract with $150 million, which is crazy to me. With the amount of money that these owners are giving Matthias. Yeah, you better not send Matthias to the G League. Matthias is solid, bro. You need to keep him in the rotation. Keep Matthias Bucelis in the rotation because Matthias Bucelis, he's looking like a really solid player. I know he definitely got to work on some of his threes, but I'm like he's looking like definitely a solid player. So I definitely want to see more. I'm definitely going to be watching, more Chicago Bulls games. What else? Thoughts on Lonzo's return? Oh, I just talked about that. I said Lonzo Ball. It looked like he hasn't lost his step from 2 years ago. He's still looking almost like the same player. I know he's just kind of getting into NBA shape. I know that he was just coming off the bench, but I mean, he's looking like the same player that he was a couple years ago. No, that lockdown perimeter defender. He had a couple steals against the Cleveland Cavaliers. He was kind of locking up Darius Garland for a little bit. He was locking up some of like the better players in the league, one of some of their best perimeter players in the league. And so Lonzo's looking like, you know, that same player he was a couple years ago. But like I said, this team is going to have to play like kind of like an up-tempo type of game. You know, let Lonzo or whatever, Josh Giddey, one of those guys, run the offense. Let the game come to them. Don't try to force anything. And please, for the love of God, don't let Zach LaVine do ISO plays, because that's what really killed us. One thing I loved about this team was just the ball movement and how they're controlling the offense. We got to see more of it. We got to see the balls being distributed evenly. Let Kobe White shoot threes. If given the opportunity, keep moving the ball around. Make sure each player is getting the ball or evenly scoring the ball at will. You know, making sure that the ball is evenly distributed to each player. Each player is scoring at a balanced pace. Scoring at a balanced pace. That's what we need to do. Who's our backup big? Let me see I'm not too sure our backup big is. I believe it's Adam Sanogo. I think it's Adama Sanogo is our backup. I think he's our backup big. But he's only like, what, 6'8", though. Adama Sanogo is our backup. He's our backup big. Because I know Jalen Smith, he's hurt right now. So I think that's where our backup big is. Anything else in regards? But other than that, I mean, I am going to be paying attention to some Chicago Bulls games. I'm definitely going to be watching some Chicago Bulls games, so stay tuned for that. I will probably do some live streams on some Chicago Bulls games, so also stay tuned for that. I'm not going to go over 30 minutes. I know probably tomorrow I might do 45 minutes. I know Chuck is not going to be here tomorrow because he has some other obligations. He's actually a musician, so he has to do our rehearsals tomorrow, so he won't be here tomorrow. So it's only going to be me. I'm going to be doing my Week 8 pick'ems tomorrow, and then I'm also going to be giving my prediction and my three keys to the Chicago Bears beating the Washington Commanders. So stay tuned for that. But that's all that I have for today, guys. I'd like to thank all y'all for coming to my today's live. Thank you, Joel. I mean, I know you're the only one for coming, but that's all the stuff that I have for you guys today. Stay tuned tomorrow for my Week 8 pick'ems. And yeah, guys, Chicago up, Bear down. All right, guys, peace. I'm out.
That's why I'm trying to make a better way. Whole new crib in a better place. Get my people out the hood, we'll see better days. Tell a fan sorry, y'all let them wait. Shit up there like a Saturday.